All right. Hi, Randall.
Hey, Anthony.
Okay, other films that you've done. We're covering some things. Tell me a Pearl Harbor story.
Um, well, Pearl Harbor was a really different experience for me. It was unique in the sense that I I got an opportunity to work on this, and I first had said no because I felt that I had bought the movie rights to We Were Soldiers, and I had promised the authors that I would. The way I ended up buying the movie rights, I'd read the book and had been moved profoundly by it. And I called my agent and said, somebody has got to own the movie rights to this story. Find out who it is and tell them I would kill a relative to get to write the screenplay. And he went, wow, okay, great. Because Braveheart was going on and I was starting to get some momentum as a writer. And
You had some options.
I had some options. And he called me a day or so later and said, no one owns the movie rights. The authors refused to sell them. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting thing, because if you've got a book, it would generally give you a great deal of push in the marketplace to know that the movie rights had been bought. So I got their names, and I got in touch with them. And before I spoke with them on the phone, I reread the book and got into this passage that said, Hollywood has gotten the story of the Vietnam veteran wrong every damn time, whetting the knives of twisted politics on the bones of our dead brothers.
Wow.
When I read that, I went, I know why they won't sell the movie rights.
Absolutely, yeah.
So actually, I wrote them first, and I said, you've never heard of me. I've got a movie in production. It's called Braveheart. You can't see it for at least a year, but I'm going to send you the script. Read the script. If you like it, then let's talk. If you don't like it, then no harm, no foul. And a couple of days later, they said, let's talk. So I called them and I said, here's what I can offer you. I could go to a studio because I've got Braveheart in production, Mel Gibson starring. I could go to the studio and get them to buy your story. But no matter what they tell you, they'll do whatever they want to with it. They have the power. If you let me buy it, I can't pay you what the studio would pay you, but I'll make you a deal that in success, you'll make more money than they would have ever paid you. And if you don't like what happens, you'll know who to come shoot.
Right.
And they went,
wow,
deal, sign us up. And they were loyal to me throughout all that. So I was working on that screenplay, and I didn't want to put it aside to do this Pearl Harbor thing. And so my agent called me and said, do you want to write Pearl Harbor? And I went, nah. And he went, I think you really ought to think about this. I went, okay. So Jerry Bruckheimer is a really intense and amazingly intelligent guy, delight to work with. Michael Bay is a brilliant director, really different from me, but he can be really different from me and be absolutely brilliant, and he has his gifts. He has things about movies that he pays more attention to than certain things that I pay attention to. But I thought, well, it may be that we would form a great collaboration, and it'll be a great challenge and great, exciting to work with him, and certainly to work with Jerry. But I said to them, look, I don't know if what I would write is what you would want to make. Because their kinds of movies and my kind of movie felt divergent. And I don't want to, and I want a lot of money. I got the minimum for Braveheart. I mean, I was the first, so I'd gotten I had not been paid handsomely to write Braveheart. But I expect a lot of money now. And and I don't want to take your money if what I give you is not what you want to do. That's just a code to me. My father, the salesman, used to say to me, if our customers don't thrive, then we starve, and we should. And that was okay. So I want to make sure that I give you something. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll write the story for free. You don't have to pay me anything. If you like it, let's make a deal. If you don't like it, no harm, no foul. And they went, okay, great. So I have to write before I can outline. I'm that opposite. My sons and I were talking this morning at breakfast about Aaron Sorkin's, who's of course a master, and but he outlines extensively, and a number of other writers that I really respect. They'll outline like crazy, and in a certain sense, they only write one draft because they, like Brian Helgeland, I got to meet once, and another master of the craft, and so I was eager to pick his brain, and I said, how many drafts do you write? And he said, one. I mean, what do you mean you only write one? He said, well, I outline so thoroughly with cards, and I rewrite the cards and stack up the scenes, so that basically my draft is me just typing what. So my thought was, well, you actually do write mini drafts. Your drafts are in outline form. But I was always the kid that when the teacher would say, turn in your outline, I'll look at your outline, and then I'll give you the go-ahead to write your story. I would write my story, I would outline it, send her the outline, then I'd turn in my story.
Would you say you were feeling it out?
Yeah.
You feel it out.
Yeah, I have to feel it out.
Yeah.
I have to feel it out. And that, without getting too far afield, is the difference to me between the way Mozart worked and the way Beethoven worked. That Mozart would have these flashes of intellectual understanding, and Beethoven would work organically from his emotions. He would write a theme and then sit at the piano and write 100 variations and feel his way through the thing. Yeah. And that's more the way I tend. I would also argue that if you hummed Beethoven melodies and Mozart melodies to anyone on the street, they'd recognize 4 or 5 times more of the Beethoven melodies than the Mozart melodies. But I'm not a musicologist, but that's the way I understand it. And so I'd said to these guys, I'll give you a story. I'll pitch the story to you, and then we can make a deal if you like it. So I had already started writing the screenplay, and I went in and I pitched the story. And there were 4 men in that room. They're all friends of mine to one degree or another. I don't want to say their names, but there were 4 people in the room. And when I finished, the head of the studio said, all right, we're making this. We're going to make this. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make it with best available casting, which is unheard of in my experience. Always before is, okay, we like it. If you bring us these actors, then we'll fund the thing. He was, whoever's available, we're going to make it with this until somebody in this room says, we're not making it. It's up to you guys to go. And we didn't even have a financial deal on that for the story. So suddenly I got to drive a Brinks truck up to the door of Disney and say, because, so we hit them with a number. They didn't, they flinched a bit, and something magical happened. Michael Bay was I think he was like getting a massage, and he was telling the girl who was doing the massage, this is a story I heard anyway, the story that he had just heard. And she stopped, and he was like, why are you stopping? And he looked around, and she was crying. And he went, it's a great story. And he called the studio and said, if you buy Randall Wallace's story, I'm in. If you don't, I'm out. So suddenly I had all sorts of leverage. One of the other guys who was in that room told me that at different times, each of the men in that room had said that the best pitch he'd ever heard was that pitch. And I said, I know each of those guys. I've been around them a lot. No one has ever said that to me. And he said, well, they wouldn't say that to you. But they would. So now that story could be completely inaccurate, but it's the story I heard, and this is one I'm going to remember.
There you go.